I'm very proud this morning to have some guests here to answer your questions about local government. To my left here we have Jim Politis, who's chairman of the Board of Supervisors. And next to him is Richard Ballengee, who's mayor of the town of Christiansburg. And also joining us is Mayor Rordam from Blacksburg.
That's my cup of coffee, I'm sorry.
We've got to get going with coffee and whatever this morning, tea, to wake us up. I'd also like to introduce Josh Rosenfeld, who's the multimedia specialist for Montgomery County, and he's going to be videotaping our meeting, and hopefully you'll be able to see that on the local cable channels, and we'll also post it to YouTube, so hopefully we'll get a message out about that if you'd like to look at the session again and kind of review where we've been. Well, I think first of all we'll start off with each of our guests this morning just telling a little bit about themselves, and then we'll go from there to doing a question and answer panel. So with that, we'll ask Jim to go first.
Yeah, of course, I'm Jim Politis, Montgomery County Board of Supervisors. I've been on the Board of Supervisors for about 15 years. Can you hear all right? Okay. And I have been in Montgomery County for 20 years, last April 1st actually, and it was our anniversary. I've been involved in the community. I've belonged to the Auburn United Methodist Church. I'm in the Auburn District, Rhino District in Montgomery County. And I've been self-employed there. We had a buffalo store over in Rhino, and we raised bison for about 18 years. We just retired from that business last March, a year ago. And I've been very proud to serve the people of Montgomery County for the last 15 years.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me this morning. I'm Richard Ballengee, and I'm the mayor of Christiansburg. And I don't know whether it's interesting to you or not. I know it was to Mary Liz Linden this morning, but I grew up in Blacksburg, and she reminded me back in the 1950s I was her paper boy. So I'm quite familiar with.
She as crazy then as she is now?
She's just exactly the same way.
Haven't changed a bit.
She probably still owes me 35 cents for a newspaper. But
There's my mom.
I have lived in Christiansburg for the last 40 years or better. I went to Christiansburg to teach at Christiansburg High School, and that's where I really got to know Mary Liz Linden. She was an English teacher. And I have a master's degree from Virginia Tech and was leaning towards school administration. So I spent a long career as principal of Christiansburg Middle School, Christiansburg Elementary School, and Christiansburg High School, and then went to the school board office and spent a little over 10 years as director of secondary education and anything else that they had for me to do that no one else wanted to do. But I ran for town council back in the mid-80s and was surprised that I was elected. And when the mayor gave up the job after 20 years, I decided I'll just throw my name in the pot and see if I can get elected mayor. And sure enough, I've been mayor for 5 years, and I have about 2 more years to go on this term. But it is a privilege to serve the people of Christiansburg. I still have a real fondness for Blacksburg, but folks over there don't know me much anymore. Things have changed since I grew up in Blacksburg, and Christiansburg has been my home, and I really enjoy it. The one thing that I have to do when I go back to Blacksburg, I have to get permission from the mayor over there for me to make an appearance in Blacksburg. So here he is, Ron Rordam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning. And Mary, you know that you are always welcome back here in Blacksburg. We love to have you. But it's an honor to be with you all and here with this group. We just kind of a little background. We have coffee once a month, the three of us. We talk about issues that affect the county in Christiansburg and Blacksburg, and it has really been a pleasure to work with two other people that are so committed. But I'm from New Orleans originally, grew up there, went to school there, and came up to Virginia Tech to get my master's in history. My wife is from the county here, and realized very quickly after I met her that it's hard to take a mountain girl out of the mountains and bring her back to the flatlands. So here I am, and very glad to be here. I got my master's back in 78, I think, 79. Started an insurance business here in Blacksburg in 81, and been doing that ever since. So I just kind of back my mind, that's a long time. 30-some years I've been doing that, but we were going through some old files and minutes with the clerk a couple days ago and realized that this month, 20 years ago, I got first appointed to the Planning Commission. So I've been doing this for about 20 years. I got elected to council a few years later, so that was 16 years ago, and I've been, Dick and I were elected at the same time, so we've been mayor the same amount of time, and it is indeed a pleasure to work with all the citizens of Blacksburg and even beyond, because I think regionalism is so important as we go forward. So thank you for having me.
Okay, I think we've talked about from the first day of class that you all were going to be thinking up some tough questions for our elected officials here. So we'd like to go ahead and open up the floor, and who has the first question? Yes, sir.
We had a recent reassessment, but I haven't been able to get the figures on what the changes were for the two towns. And do any of you know what the change in reassessment or the value of property for, say, Blacksburg, for Christiansburg was or is?
I believe, and this is a number I'm grabbing, sort of a number I'm grabbing off the top of my head because we're just in going over the budget. It's about a 3 or 4% increase in town. You know, we're used to much higher because it's every, what, 3 or 4 years we do the assessment, but usually we're at 15, 20, 30%. It was a very small increase, very much under double digits. But I can get that exact amount for you if you want, Todd.
I don't know the total assessment for property in Christiansburg, but I can tell you that the recent census revealed that we have 21,000 residents now. And we have not had a tax rate increase in Christiansburg since 1973. And we're very proud of that, but we're also very business friendly. And we'll do everything we can to bring business into the area, and they pick up a good part of the tax revenue that comes in, so that we're able to hold the line on the property tax. Ours is 11 cents, 11.2 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. And property values have gone up, so I can't say that your taxes haven't gone up. They have, but the tax rate has not gone up.
And as far as the whole county, I believe the increase in real estate value was about 1.5% over the last 4 years. And different areas were affected differently. When taxes were, or when property values were going up tremendously high several years ago, you could see one area where they'd have a 5% increase and another area where they might have a 30% increase. So things were based on areas and locations, so it's hard to pick a specific area. How much did your neighborhood home values go up? Because it's always based on sales as currently as possible. They usually try to do 6 months. But I think after the last assessment, there weren't a whole lot of homes sold that they could compare to comparables and things. So they had to use older assessments for that at that point. Of course, Montgomery County is your largest portion of your tax dollars, receives it because we're at 75% today. and or 75 cents. And we are going to have our vote on our tax rate on Monday night. So, and then we'll go on, and it will not be more than a 12-cent increase.
Yes.
Mayor Rordam.
Yes, I was writing down, trying to remind myself to look at time. Can we have a piece of paper and pen so I can, if I promise somebody I'm going to do something, that'd be better than me trying to do this, y'all think I'm checking my email or not. That's the only way I can remember things. Yes, sir.
Okay, as you know, we all know, there's a lot going on Main Street in the streets and what appears to be the traffic light system. What's going on and how long will it be going on?
We are finally, after many years of frustration on my part, thank you, we are synchronizing the traffic lights along South Main in that area. I personally think it's long overdue. It took a while to get the money together, and where the milling is going on right now, it's just for those intersections. So that's what's happening there.
Are you happy with the way the,
Yes, I am. It was one of those projects when we started, everybody thought we were crazy. Or at least many people thought we were crazy. But I think it's working well. I've only heard one complaint so far on the roundabout. It takes a little getting used to, but this morning, as usual, I was late leaving the office because returning phone calls, and it takes probably 2 to 4 minutes off of my travel time to come from downtown to the inn or out here at University City Boulevard because of the roundabout, because I'm not waiting for that light.
and no accidents?
As far as I know, there have not been any.
Because that was one of the,
Yeah, that everybody run into each other. But yeah, I thought as a fundraiser when we first opened, it might be good to sell seats. You can sit along around about, watch people try to maneuver it. But yeah, it's one of those ideas I had, and nobody else thought it was very good.
One observation is we have, I appreciate the 3 meters we have here now, but there's an elephant that we're not talking to here, very important to our community, and that's Virginia Tech, which I think leads to some frustrations for some of the citizens in trying to figure out where the future is. And I wonder if you had comments on working with Virginia Tech. I would assume Blacksburg has more of an effect of Virginia Tech's operations than the others, but if any of you would comment about dealing with Virginia Tech, or working, or planning, or knowing, I would appreciate that feedback.
I'd be happy to start off, and then because Virginia Tech really does affect all of us. Christiansburg is tied in closely with the Aquatic Center, and of course, as we do, always try to remember the Board of Supervisors that we are indeed part of Montgomery County, right, Jim?
Correct.
But
I remind you of that all the time.
but you know, with any mature relationship, there's always going to be areas of disagreement. So let's get that one out of the way to start with. The meals tax is a disagreement that we have at the university, and we will continue to work on it. We've made progress in that the concession stands at the stadium are now collecting the meals tax. They started that a couple of years ago. I think here they should at the end. I don't see any reason why not. So I'll continue to keep asking that. But that is really a small part of our relationship. As I go across the state, indeed, a lot of times in different meetings that bring in people from all over the country, our working relationship as the town of Blacksburg with Virginia Tech is I think one of the best in the country. They are very good about listening to our concerns. They're very good about following through where they can. You know, the planning aspect, Todd, we're going to invite them in the next couple of months to do a presentation to council, a Tuesday night meeting, so it's on television, talk about what the future build-out plans are. I think it's important for all of us to be aware and to know kind of what they want to do and where they want to go with it. One of the I think most significant examples I've given in the last couple of years where we have worked very well together is the Center for the Performing Arts. One of the original plans was to put the center close to the inn here, to have restaurants in the center, to have parking in the center, and to be really a kind of a little island we talked, I went to a couple of meetings and out of state to different other centers and realized that what was so key to our community was it not be in the middle of campus, that it not have parking, and that it not have a restaurant. Because that way if somebody came to the Center for the Arts, they would park in town, walk through town, and become part of town. And Virginia Tech looked at all that, and the center now is right on Main Street downtown. It doesn't have parking within it. Parking is going to be a block and a half away, and there aren't any restaurants planned for it. So that, to me, I think that's a really good example of how we do work together in ways that maybe aren't as obvious to the general community. So I consider them very good partners.
Well, being a Hokie, I have a real affection for Virginia Tech, particularly since I grew up in Blacksburg. But Virginia Tech has a tremendous impact on all three communities, or all four communities, I guess, if you include Shawsville and Auburn. Even the entrance requirements for Virginia Tech tends to drive the curriculum in the public schools. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that we don't always see the kids who need to enroll in college enrolling at Virginia Tech. They often go to other places. But their entrance requirements are quite high, and that's good. We do have a number of partnerships with Virginia Tech and the town of Christiansburg. I was surprised when I came to Christiansburg how close a working relationship that we have. You've heard of the two-town trolley. That was a partnership between Virginia Tech and Christiansburg. And we'd provide transportation for students from Tech to come to Christiansburg. They'd shop in our shopping malls, and we'd also provide transportation for people in Christiansburg who wanted to work in Blacksburg. A lot of automobiles travel between Christiansburg and Blacksburg every morning. And that's because they're such a large employer. We count it a real privilege to be associated with Virginia Tech, and our outlying areas, particularly in the 114 area, that's the Belmont area, has really become a bedroom community for Virginia Tech. They work here, but they live there. And I don't know whether that's because of housing. Maybe houses don't cost quite as much over on our side of the county. But we're pleased with the partnership that we have. We were going to build a 25-meter pool, swimming pool for Christiansburg, because that's what the public wanted. Virginia Tech said, if you will build a 50-meter pool, we'll go into partners with you and we'll pay part of it. So Virginia Tech has chipped in over $5 million toward the building of an aquatic center, and last month we had the Atlantic Coast Conference swimming tournament there, and I've never seen so many people from all these schools around the Atlantic Coast converging on Christiansburg, filling up our hotels and our restaurants and spending money at the retail stores. So it has become an economic engine for us, and it's in large measure due to the partnership that we have with Virginia Tech. And we meet periodically. They have a representative on the Chamber of Commerce. They have a representative on the Virginia Tech Blacksburg-Christiansburg Water Authority. And that arrangement has worked out very well to keep them included in community activities. So they have not met with us in our liaison meetings, but they would certainly be invited if they chose to. We meet once a month, Blacksburg, Christiansburg, and Montgomery County, just to talk about, and the school board, just to talk about mutual concerns and what we can do to help each other. We've gotten away from this turf protection thing we used to have years ago. We've discovered that what's good for Blacksburg is good for Christiansburg, and vice versa. It took us a while to realize that. But now that we're meeting on a regular basis and we're helping each other solve problems, it's one of the best things we've ever done.
And I want to thank these two gentlemen for their comments. Our experience with Virginia Tech has also been very positive. A couple of things that we have to stay attuned to is their growth, because their growth relates to growth in the county. The county has much more property to develop today, I think, than the two towns. And when they put in the bypass over the 114 exit on Route 8, you know, exit 118 to Blacksburg, that caused our development to increase in the Rordam area because we had the land to do it there. And they're great people to have out there, of course. It's increased our school populations too, and that's fine. But we're told that you can drive from parts of Rordam to Blacksburg faster than you can go from parts of Blacksburg to Virginia Tech. And it's a nice, comfortable drive with a bypass, and we have a lot of people who work at Virginia Tech, of course, in our area, and even some students, graduate students are there. The other thing that we work in cooperation with the two towns and Virginia Tech is we've started a tourism committee. And they have a member on our tourism board, both Christiansburg and Blacksburg, and the county, of course, are the members of it. We have community members as far as restaurants and hoteliers on this board to try and bring people into Christiansburg or Blacksburg overnight, or maybe for an extra day, rather than just coming into a football game and going home. We advertise all of our amenities that we have, and Virginia Tech is a part of that, of course. They mentioned the Water Authority. Virginia Tech is part of that, and the two towns and Virginia Tech are working with the county so that we can try to join the Water Authority and become part of it and serve the whole county with better water than we're divided up, I think, in 11 wells, and we buy water from Christiansburg and Blacksburg, so we don't have the same consistent water from one community to the other as far as the county goes. So they've been gracious in working with us on that, and hopefully we'll have some finalization to that in the next few months. They've been supportive of our school effort, which of course is huge right now in building, and the growth of Virginia Tech also affects that. There's two areas in the county that I see as our growth availability areas, and that is the Price's Fork area, which is connected, of course, to Virginia Tech, and the Rhino area. And Shawsville's pretty well locked in. They have a lot of conservation easements and things down there. There'll be some growth down in that area, but not as much as the other two communities. So, but the relationship, again, has been very positive. They've been cooperating very much with the county. I'm on the chamber board as a liaison. And Virginia Tech's also involved in a lot of our economic development boards, the Development Commission, the Development Alliance, and they have great representatives, and they work both with economics and education.
Okay.
That two-town trolley, is that free for Virginia Tech students? I mean, their tuition, or do they have to pay additional?
You know, I'm not familiar with how that's funded through Virginia Tech. We've split the cost on the cost of buses. Now, since we've extended the bus service into Christiansburg, which is run by Blacksburg Transit, and we have cut out the Christiansburg loop of the Blacksburg Transit. So now if you want to come from Blacksburg to the mall, you ride the Blacksburg Transit bus, which is still called the two-town trolley, but it doesn't make the run through Christiansburg since we've extended the bus service into Christiansburg. But I don't know how the students, it may be part of their tuition, I'm not sure.
It is.
The way Blacksburg Transit is funded, which really it was unique when it started, and now other areas are joining in. But the majority of the funding for Blacksburg Transit comes from student fees. They pay into it. So if you have a student or faculty or staff ID, you can jump on a Blacksburg Transit bus and there's no charge. And then the other part of Blacksburg Transit funding comes from matching grants that we get from the state and the federal government. So within Blacksburg Transit itself, there are no Blacksburg general revenue funds that go into it. We do contribute to the Smartway bus that comes from Rordam. So, but what happens to that is, if you're a student and you have a student ID, you can ride it.
Too many questions for me, but I'll do it anyway. You mentioned two things that are pretty important. Tourism, in a way. It's with regret that years ago, maybe 4 decades, one of the major capital improvement programs from Montgomery County was river access to the Dew River. And I regret to say that has been shuffled away from it as a priority. And the real problem is we do not have good access to either the Little River or the New River for county residents that live in the two towns. And I think we're missing the boat on that. Yes, there is river access, but there's no county or town access. You can go fish at a lot of places, but you really don't have a county presence either at Pepper's Ferry or down near McCoy. Yes, it's private. It's sometimes easier for me to go over to Pulaski to get to the New River than it is. I have more river access in Pulaski than I do in Montgomery County to the New River. And the Little River, I can't really say where's a good place to go that's public access. Thank God for VDOT having bridges where you have a right-of-way that we all make good use of. I figure the biggest tourist improvement we have that the county is provided by VDOT where we can get to the river. So I would just throw that out as a comment. But along with that, we're part of, now I never remember it right. There's a 4th and 5th planning district on roads and infrastructure. And I think we're part of, which one is it?
I was mixed up with 4th and 5th. Planning PDC.
I don't recall, and I was on the board a couple of years ago.
I know, I did the same thing, Todd.
I'm guilty of it, but here's the point I wanted to make. We should be part of both of them. And we're not. There's no way to plan for the future.
I believe the planning districts are dictated by the state, aren't they, as to what areas?
Well, but you can join more than one.
And that'd be, well, we had this, we had it, and then I'll turn to y'all. We had a meeting yesterday talking about the next 10 years of Blacksburg and development. And I think one thing that is so important is that we continue to try to reach out to the Roanoke Valley. I think that's so important for our growth, it's important for our future. The challenge that I found, and I'll just be real blunt and honest with it, the challenge I find is that Roanoke Valley reaching back. I've tried several instances, and I've not met with a whole lot of success yet. But I'll continue to try. Maybe you all have had a different experience than I have, so I'll turn it over to Mayor Christiansburg.
Well, Todd, let me comment about the New River and the access. I have had that concern for many years too. And when I fish, I usually go to Pulaski to get in the river. Or I'll go to Radford there at the foundry and try to get in the river. Unfortunately, we don't own any property along the river. And if we had folks that would say, I'll give you so much river frontage if you will develop it, make it into a public access, but so far we haven't had anyone step forward to do that. It would be a tremendous tourism attraction for people to have access to the river. And we try to promote everything else in the area, like the Huckleberry Trail and the New River Trail, and those kinds of things. Mountain Lake is one we promote a great deal for tourism, and with some of the golf courses now that we have, we try to promote those to attract people to come and spend the night and play golf with us. But you're right on the river thing. The other question had to do with transportation. We are a member of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. That's Montgomery County, Christiansburg, and Blacksburg, and we all have representatives. That organization makes recommendations for improvement for transportation in this whole area. It doesn't cover some of the areas we'd like for it to, because the planning organizations overlap. So planning organization in Roanoke, we don't always know what they're recommending or what they're doing as it pertains to what we're doing in our area. One of the things that we did was initiate the Smartway bus, and that came as a recommendation from the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Fortunately, that has been a successful venture. It didn't start out very successful, but over the years it has, and all 3 localities are putting money into it. It's a Roanoke project, really, but it's been a tremendous boon to the folks who want to travel between here and Roanoke on a regular basis. As far as the planning districts, we all have invitations to attend VDOT meetings for their 6-year plans. We have representatives from the Metropolitan Planning Organization, so I don't always go to those. If I think it's something that's going to benefit Christiansburg or it needs input from Christiansburg, I'll usually attend. One of the things that we're working on right now is a connector road from 114 to downtown Christiansburg. And that's a multi-million-dollar project. It's on the drawing boards, but so far VDOT hasn't put it in their 6-year plan.
Excuse me. Are people aware that you would like some access to the river?
This is really the first I've heard about it, except for the fact that I've thought about it, you know. And as the mayor said, if we don't have property there, it's kind of hard to do. We have one location down in McCoy, I believe. Do we not?
It's public, I don't,
No,
No,
that's
that's
private.
that's private thing. But now didn't
we put
someone,
up lights for it.
And by the way, just to point out something, that land there was on our tax rolls as delinquent for 30 to 40 years.
Okay.
And the county just completely ignored recommendations to have access to that land, which is a tremendous asset.
Todd,
It was
didn't,
sublet to Blue Junction.
Jim and Todd, didn't someone offer to give the county land on the, was it on the river? A park, a potential park, and I think, so now I've been contacted by them. And, but I think it's in the county, it's not in the town.
Currently,
Yeah.
recently?
Mhm.
That's not on the river, that's on Scuba's Creek.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
And they're trying
Yeah,
to build
that's
a
not
park
a
over there.
all right.
Matter of fact, I just went with a man yesterday. for
Did you?
3 hours.
I knew it was on water somewhere.
Scuba's Creek's not a whole lot of water. But at any rate, one of the good things that is going to come out of this meeting today, I hope, is you're going to ask us questions, and we're going to follow up on things we can't answer yet, and that is a great question. It'll be something we can take to our tourism board. As far as tourism goes, we're in the process of going through applications right now to hire a tourism director. I believe we had about 40 applications for it, and the 2 towns and one of our people from the county are going to go through the applications and narrow them down to get to an interview process. And that'll be one of the things we can bring to them, and we can bring to the county. And your question about the delinquent taxes, I'm not aware of. That's more a treasurer issue than it is a supervisor issue. So, you know, he's got to tell us, but we don't always get details. We get dollars. You know what I mean? They don't get too specific at times. The relationship with the PDC is they've had some things on their plate, but very few of them have occurred to benefit Montgomery County. It's mostly Giles and Pembroke and Floyd. They don't have the access to the economic development like we have our own departments in the towns do. Okay, and they work together as a group along with the Alliance, New River Valley Economic Development Alliance. So their plans, the year I spent on the board, weren't real inclusive of Montgomery County. And like Mayor Rordam, I've been trying to work with Roanoke County and Roanoke Valley. I've been to several meetings over the years. And it's a take, not a give in most cases. However, I think things are changing. Today, we are the largest jurisdiction in Southwest Virginia. We have more population now than Roanoke County. And I say largest with the second largest. The largest is Roanoke City. So, and Virginia Tech, is a prime engine for that growth, too. So, maybe we're more like Roanoke County than we are like Floyd or Giles. And if we can join two, I think we've had some limited discussion on it, nothing to get into facts and figures. I think we're going to get into things of that nature after we get our budget settled. So, and hopefully we're not going to be in the new budget cycle before we get that done. But our focus has been really strong on, the budget and school buildings and things of this nature now. And when that's behind us, we'll have more time to get into other things.
I did want to mention, as far as water access, in Elliston, behind the fire department, there's the new Eastern Montgomery Park, and there is carry-in access to the water from there, where you can bring in kayaks and canoes. Obviously, you can't bring a motorboat down there or anything like that, but that is one opportunity. I see some other questions. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about the plans and what's happening with respect to the old Blacksburg Middle School property and the old Blacksburg High School property?
That's a good discussion between me and the mayor.
You want to start?
I'll start.
All right, you go get it.
We, as a town and as a county, worked extremely hard together to get a solution, to put a plan together for that project, okay? And things are going forward. Everything takes time in government. But we have a very good, what do you call it?
Plan?
The vision.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
For what to do there. We have a developer that, as far as I know, is still on board. And we have a business that is still on board to take that site. And right now we're doing some planning between the town and the county offices today with our county administrator and our town manager, and trying to develop, I guess, a site plan?
Preliminary site plan.
Preliminary site plan.
Talked about that this morning.
So, which has to be done before any rezoning can start. And so, for the last year and a half, the mayor and I have had many meetings. I've been to their town council work sessions, along with Supervisor Brown, he being the vice chair, and the mayor's invited us to them, and they've been very productive. And I think in the next few months we're going to have some firm commitments one way or the other. But it's all positive right now. Movia is the business that wants to acquire the front portion of the property and wants to build a commercial building. And there's a group can't think of their name right now.
What do they call themselves? It's Jeannie Stosser.
Yeah,
and
Jeannie
Cowan,
Stosser's group.
But I forget the name of there.
They want to develop the residential area behind it, and we have agreed on a plan that will get through their town council once everything is fine-tuned and we know exactly what they're doing. But it is in a very positive direction. My big push on this has been taking a piece of liability, which was costing several $100,000 a year as a school site, and turning it into an asset which will generate tax money. And the plan we have is pretty close to the optimum that we could get both for the town and the county. So it's in a very positive mode at this point. Got slowed down a little bit, but we perked it back up in the last week or so, and I'll let the mayor carry on from there.
I think it's important to note it slowed down not because of anything Montgomery County or the town of Blacksburg was doing. The potential developer was trying to get somebody on board and start to get their plans together.
Right.
So one thing I love to point out with this process is, you know, we're Blacksburg, and Blacksburg, we have the reputation of taking 6 years to do about anything. Once we knew Modea was interested, the county and the town set their minds to getting this done. We were able to go through a master planning process with citizen input, with everybody being comfortable with it, the county and the town trying to satisfy all of our desires in 6 months. And you know, for Blacksburg, I think that's pretty amazing that we got that done that quickly. So we were real proud of that. It was important that any developer, anybody coming in, had an idea as to what would work and what wouldn't work. So that's why we felt it was important to get this done to start with, and not kind of at the very end, and have the buy-in from both the county and the town representatives. I think most everyone is pleased with what that master plan calls for. Of course, the proof is going to be that it has to be delivered like that, and both of the people involved right now are committed. Both of the developers are committed to doing that, so we're very excited. The town has made no bones, and we've been very public that we would like to talk to the county about the old high school site. It makes sense if we look at where our recreation is located right now at the rec center and those fields, that would be a great addition, not only for just the citizens of Blacksburg, but everybody up here in the northern part of Montgomery County. So, Mr. Chairman, we're ready to talk to you anytime about that.
And we'll get this Phillips Green and
Phillips Green,
and we're on our way. That'll be the next subject.
A speaker earlier in the term told us that where the old middle school was during the Civil War was a Civil War encampment. And I was wondering if it would be nice to have a, you know, for tourism or something, to have a sign up about that.
There were two really very significant parts of our history on that site. One was the, I think, the encampment, and I'm not quite sure the details of that. The other was there was an African-American school there on that site. And it is, I think, within the plans, because as you come along, if you look at the old middle school site, if you look at kind of where Bill Brown Stadium is, and behind there, that's going to be, it's called Spring Park, which is close to where the school was located, is that there will be something there to commemorate you know, that history.
The old Blacksburg High School, or middle school, is really not the fight of Christiansburg. We've more or less taken a neutral position and let that be between the county and the town. But I served on a task force many years ago. And Todd, I think you were on that task force, if I'm not mistaken. And the study was, what do we do with these old buildings that are going to be abandoned when new schools are built? And from what I remember from those discussions, that the Blacksburg Middle School, the old school, would be held in reserve and used for overcrowding in the future. I don't know, we tend sometimes to spend a lot of money on consultants, and then we don't listen to the consultants. But I know that was one of the recommendations. One recommendation was to sell the Belmont School to the city of Radford. Well, that materialized. But some of the others well, I won't say it fell on deaf ears, but it just didn't seem to be the thing we wanted to do. Now, if we had held that school in reserve to eliminate overcrowded conditions in the future, you would not have Blacksburg Middle School kids traveling to Christiansburg every day to attend school. And the old Christiansburg Middle School has been held in reserve for the overcrowding. And fortunately, we held it so that those kids would have a place to go. Hindsight, I guess, is better than no sight at all. But if we'd kept that school up, rented it out for some private schools, let's say we could be using it today because it was still a good building. But that wasn't our fight. Todd?
As usually, the mayor of Christiansburg and I agree.
And they can agree all they want, but the county has a responsibility.
Thank you, Chairman, because what most citizens don't appreciate, that's county property, school
That's
site.
correct. Well, it's actually school board property until it's vacated to us.
Yeah, but it's county property
Correct.
until that.
Yeah.
But most citizens don't appreciate the relationship between the board of supervisors and the school system. And not that it makes much sense, but I remember we used to appoint school board members way back when. Now, the money is still a separate issue.
Yeah.
So it's a very complicated issue. Most people don't appreciate it.
Well, like I say, I appreciate all the input from the mayors on this, but they're not in the fight. And,
Sure we are.
What about Stadium Woods? I hope we get to keep Stadium Woods.
State, yep, that's exactly right. And that's one, fortunately, I get to, it is on tech property, which is a totally separate entity from Montgomery County or Blacksburg. So it ends up being their decision. I certainly do understand the concerns. We did what was billed as a run Saturday morning, the run in remembrance. I walked it, I didn't run it. But we walked by Stadium Woods. I certainly understand that concern, but it is very much a Virginia Tech issue that they get to make the final decision on. So colleges don't have any voice in that one. Although we have to the university representatives, I have expressed the concerns that I've heard in the community to them.
Could you elaborate a little bit on your relationship with the other adjoining counties, and to speak a little bit further? It seems like that Montgomery County is the most recognized entity in the New River Valley, and possibly the most, I don't know, independent or most growing. But there are attractions within the adjoining counties that are certainly nice to see, but those counties don't seem to have the resources to market those. But yet these are places that are comfortable driving distance from people who might be lodging or staying in this area. But could you speak a bit on that?
I can address that some. That is part of what the PDC does. Okay. There's we're part of a tourism organization that goes all the way down to Abington and goes beyond Floyd or to Floyd. You know?
I'm not
Is this Crooked Road?
Yeah, the Crooked Road.
Yeah, it ends here. We just,
yeah.
Montgomery County just joined, which is exciting.
Right, we just joined
Crooked
it.
Road.
Right.
So in the tourism area, we connect those counties. The PDC helps with things that go on in Giles County, like the waterfall.
Cascades.
Yeah, and we support those efforts through a central board, I guess. We are the most populous, of course. We're talking, I think, 17 or 18,000 in Floyd, and a little less in Giles, and they don't have, like you say, the resources. So we anchor a lot of things that we paid more than our usable share in some of these organizations, and I'm not being derogatory or anything, but when you support an organization and you pay 1/5 of it, and you use less than 0 of it sometimes, you know, you question why you're there. But you're there because you're committed to the entire community.
Well, what happens there might also benefit.
It affects it. What affects, just like what affects the towns, affects here, what affects any of our economic development. If we didn't have Volvo down in Pulaski County, I couldn't tell you how many people would not be working there out of Montgomery County, you know. And so we do connect.
Okay, thank you.
In a lot of ways.
Let me speak to that. We have several initiatives going on that promotes regionalism in this area so that we don't have so much duplication of effort in working together to provide meaningful entertainment and recreation for our citizens, and also economic development. We have the industrial park located there in Dublin, and many localities have joined that in order to attract a major business to that area. And we're still waiting for one of those major businesses to come so we can share the revenue. Another of the things that we try to do with other counties is through the Center for, what did we call it?
Competitive Center?
Yeah, the Competitiveness Center. And they address the needs of the whole region. And so we're working very closely with them to try to promote regional development so that we don't have the duplication of effort for every locality. It's a whole lot cheaper, or less costly, I should say, to go in together and do things, and particularly build projects, than it is to try to do them separately.
That sounds good.
Isn't that it? All right.
The only thing I make a little mention on is corporate park that the mayor was talking about. That's a 1,000-acre site. And it's right next to it is the International Airport, Customs Airport. And this is something, one of the reasons we're a member of this, and I think it goes as far as Roanoke County, and Craig is not, I don't think. But there are several counties outside of the New River Valley that are part of this also. So we do reach beyond the New River Valley at times.
That's the airport at Dublin you're speaking of?
That's the airport of Dublin.
Gotcha.
I was going to ask one arm-waving question. What improvements would you like to see made in the future, planning 20 some odd years? What things would you like to see happen in this region that you think we should be planning for now, and perhaps we're not? Whether it's consolidation of boards and commissions, projects,
Well,
just your individual wishes.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as the county goes, we are working with the school board to try and consolidate some services. As soon as the courthouse is finished, the school board is going to move into the government center building, okay? And they're doing, the school and the county are doing a study right now on what services we can combine, okay? It's about time, I guess, that we start looking for some more land for industrial development. And we work very closely with both towns when we're in their areas. The industrial park at Falling Branch is about full. And when we have efforts to get businesses in, the town of Christiansburg is very helpful in making contributions to getting the businesses in. The same thing when we have a growth in Blacksburg. So we work on these parks together to bring businesses in, and we help each other to get incentives passed that will, you know, attract these companies. The village areas, were designated several years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And we are trying to follow those plans for our growth, residential growth. We've built these schools to the size to accommodate those developments that we anticipate being there in the next 15 or 20 years. Okay, so that's what the county is doing and the visions we have. Each town, I'm sure, has their own visions within themselves, but all visions include cooperation between the two, especially when we're looking at growth on the boundaries of the two areas. And that's very important. And both planning commissions and things get together and work with the town of Christiansburg and the town of Blacksburg when we're coming close to their borders, so that we have a nice transition from the town to the county to the rural areas. And that has been working, I think, extremely well since I've been on the board, and that's been 15 years. I'm very proud of how the 3 towns have worked together on those items. I guess that's my spiel. We'll go next to the mayor.
2 years ago, Town Council in Christiansburg held a retreat. And we did that at New River Community College, and we met for about 3 days and talked about the future of Christiansburg. What would we like Christiansburg to be like by the year 2020? So we called it Vision 2020. And we are still working toward that. One of the things we wanted to see was mass transportation. And so we started working toward the extended bus service for the area of Christiansburg. And it has worked out real well with the cooperation of Blacksburg Town Council and Blacksburg Transit, so that we have transportation for people who live in areas of Christiansburg that can't get to the mall or to the doctor's office or to other places if they don't have transportation. And we run these buses, and they're relatively inexpensive. A senior can ride the bus for $0.25. And I've only rode it one time, and they wouldn't let me pay them $0.25. They said, "You're the mayor, you get to ride."
They don't do that for me.
And part of that was to reduce our carbon footprint, to be a little cleaner, get cars off the road. One of the things that we want to do is to get better transportation into this area. We've written several resolutions to the railroad. We'd like to have Amtrak come through Christiansburg again. We'd like to have our railroad station back so that people can get from here to Washington and not have to drive to Lynchburg to catch a train. We'd like to be able to go from here to Atlanta without having to go through Bluefield first. So anyway, those are some things that we'd like for the future, Todd. We're planning, but whether it's going to happen in the next few years or not. Another area that I know a lot of folks are working on is mergers. There's one group I know in particular that would like to see Blacksburg, Christiansburg, and Montgomery County just merged together. We'll have one big city, call it Montgomery, and Blacksburg and Christiansburg then would be a suburb of the city of Montgomery. I don't know that that's going to happen, maybe 100 years from now. But there are some folks who are advocating that. The tourism piece is one that we have tried to promote as part of our Vision 2020 to make the area more attractive for folks who will want to come here. And I know they come here for a lot of reasons, and most of them have to do with Virginia Tech and football and basketball. I made this comment in a council meeting one night, and it came back to haunt me that we had just built a freeway between Blacksburg and Christiansburg. Why don't we just set up a toll out there and charge all these folks to come through Christiansburg to get to Virginia? Oh, I wish I hadn't said that.
I better take the microphone away from you, Mr. Mayor. You're going to get in trouble again.
I
remember, it's on, this is being recorded.
Well, I was joking, of course. But the point is that we stand to reap the benefits of folks coming to this area for whatever reason. And so we'd like to see more things developed. I spoke to a group of first graders back in January, and they wanted us to develop a Disney World here in Christiansburg. They wanted a skating rink, not a roller skating rink. They wanted a big ice skating rink. So kids have a lot of ideas. But anyway, I thought that was interesting that we need to start looking at areas we can build that will attract areas. We are the mecca for recreation in this area. And we've built the aquatic center, we've built Harkrader Park, we've added ball fields. Soccer has become a big thing in this area. And so we're working to those ends to make it more attractive for people who do want to come to this area.
There are two areas that we're planning. One is Blacksburg specific, but I think it's going to affect the county and Christiansburg, and the other is more regional. The first is, well, just a first general statement from business people I talk to and meet with, that I think we all have to be prepared because of the Corporate Research Center doubling in size in the next 15 years, because of the growth of Virginia Tech and graduate students primarily, which is where they're looking to grow much more than undergraduate, which is better for economic development. Once the economy turns around, this area is going to explode, and we need to be prepared for that. And we talked a little bit before about outlying counties. Pulaski, Radford are going to be part of that explosion. I think that's where if you look where land values are and where people may go, so all that's going to tie in together. But in Blacksburg, about 10 years ago, we came up with a downtown master plan. And the town manager and I sat down a year or so ago when we started kind of look at our business practices. And we were shocked in how much we had accomplished in 10 years and followed that plan. So we're starting the next 10-year planning process. But one of the items in that plan was for this area to become the center for cultural arts in Southwest Virginia. The Center for the Arts is being built, and we need to be prepared for it. It needs to be a regional effort. It needs to include Christiansburg and Montgomery County, and we need to find ways that it is not just a Virginia Tech-centric operation, but we all are part of it, and it's a community draw. In Blacksburg, that means looking at our zoning around that downtown area. How can we better accommodate artists and live-work environments? And we're looking at that now in our comprehensive plan. One other area that is regional that ties into that is high-speed infrastructure, fiber, dark fiber. Where are you going to put it? How's it going to be available? We have a group we put together for about a year or two. Entrepreneurs and business people look to the town. And I think if there's one thing I've become convinced of over the last, well, my 6 years as mayor, that there are many things we do well in town government. But there are also many ways that I think private enterprise and the business sector can tell us what they want. And I think a lot of times when when you're very active, they say, okay, I had people come to me, Blacksburg, what do you want with this? I said, we're not telling you, you tell us what you need, and then let's find a way to do it. So I think we're going to have to do that, first of all, within our downtown core to support the arts, because the arts are not just static anymore. One of the parts of the Center for the Arts is going to be a visual arts component and also a virtual arts component, so that kids in Abington can take part from Abington in a performance that's going on at the center and interact. All that needs bandwidth, all that needs infrastructure. The other thing that's more exciting that goes back, I think, to something that we started talking about is the regional cooperation on a greater basis between the Roanoke Valley and the New River Valleys. The Roanoke-Blacksburg Technology Commission, which I'm still, I still think it's in the Blacksburg Roanoke, but they went with the Roanoke-Blacksburg name. They are working very hard through contributions to make this region entrepreneur friendly. And how do we do that through bandwidth increasing? How do we make this really the technology hub of the area? I mean, and we're not just Roanoke Valley, and Newbert Valley, but the greater North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, West Virginia. How do we really make this the hub? And what I think is most exciting about that is right now the governments aren't involved. It's the entrepreneurs, it's the all those people out there who are making it happen on their own that are putting together the plan. And I asked them, I said, you know, when are you going to come involved? And they said, well, when we figured it out, and we'll probably come ask you for a little money. And I think that sometimes you've just got to let these groups take off and encourage them to do their thing, support them, and not try to overmanage what the ideas are going to come up with. Because I think what excited me the most about this concept in technology is that these are entrepreneurs that have no sense of what the political boundaries are. They have no history of what happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. All they're looking for is to accomplish a goal and to kind of tear those boundaries down. So I think as we move forward over the next few years, that's where we're really going to see the two valleys cooperating, which will make the political areas cooperate even more. So I think we're not planning for that as a region as much as we should, because it's going to be so important. And I think that's, you asked, what should we be doing? And it's one of the things that I'm talking about is maybe we should look more regionally on broadband width and on broadband and infrastructure and dark fiber.
One more comment. I just have one more comment on this future of Montgomery County. We did our comprehensive plan several years ago, and one of the largest qualities we have in Montgomery County is the beauty of the county. And as we look forward, we need to keep watching that plan and make sure we conserve the agriculture area. It's a very important part of this county. I'm an agricultural person myself, and I wake up in the morning and I come to town, and when I come off the top of the mountain, I don't care if it's snowing, raining, ice, sunny, cloudy. There's not a more beautiful place in Montgomery County. And as we do grow, and part of the reason for these village plans was to keep the growth in areas that would not intrude throughout the county. And I'd like to see the ag areas stay that way as closely as they can. You can't always regulate people on their farms as far as, you know, what they can do with it. And during our zoning, we went through tremendous amounts of pressure from the farmers on how they can, what they can do with their land, because for a lot of them it's their retirement. It's mine, you know. I've been in business since 1981, and they took me everything I could to keep going in the business, you know. So my farm is my retirement. So we had to make accommodations for splitting farms into a little bit smaller areas and not having public water and public sewer, you know, available, that they could still do something on wells and septics and things of that nature. So we need to keep that character alive in Montgomery County and let the towns and the villages absorb the populations until they're full.
Jack, I believe you had a question.
Yes, to the mayor of Blacksburg. What's the status of the South Gate intersection? I see surveyors on it every time I go by. And what's the plan for that? And another question relating to Blacksburg specifically. We're promoting downtown Blacksburg. However, I don't see anything that really explains to me where best to park
Yes.
Parking.
I know we have it, and I've used it across Main Street, but we need more info about it.
Well, I mean, the Southgate, Virginia Tech has lobbied very hard for the entrance into the campus to be that Southgate, and they're going to move it about a mile down the road to tie into then Tech Center Drive. Southgate will then, current Southgate will tee into that road system and be part of that. So that that's going to happen probably the next 5 or 6 years. The money is there. The governor made sure the money was in the budget. So that's on track, but that's a VDOT project, the Southgate interchange. We have worked closely with the university on that interchange, what happens to Southgate, because right now there's probably way too much cut-through traffic going on Southgate. So how do we try to eliminate that or alleviate that situation by working with Virginia Tech to encourage people to come in either on 460, and then eventually a road coming through, you should follow the Corporate Research Center Road, or whatever they call it now, Ramble Road, coming down by Draper-Aden. One of the plans is in the future to have the road cut in there and then come up so that make it easier to get to Tech Center Drive if you're coming from Christiansburg or if you're coming from other parts of Blacksburg. Tell me your second question again. I got off on that.
Parking.
Parking. Oh, see, I forgot it already. Gosh. Thought I was hoping maybe you would too. But now, it's parking has always been an issue in downtown Blacksburg, and I always say yes, it is an issue, but it's a great problem to have because that means people are coming. That means people are part of it. We partnered with Bob Pack and Kent Square years ago for a parking garage that I think is pretty much full now, that many people are using it. It's a short walk into downtown. We just purchased additional parking behind Creekmore Law Firm, where Range Real Estate used to be. So that parking lot is now owned by the town. We're going to work with downtown to kind of look at the future of that. You get into this real balancing act because you want to have as much metered and public parking as you can, but you also need parking for people who are working downtown. And that lot is pretty much full with, there's a company called TechPad, which is right there above, whatever that restaurant is, right on Main Street. They lease a lot of the spaces for their employees. So you have that balancing act. We're going to lose some spaces on College Avenue, so we've got to replace them, and this is one of the ways. Virginia Tech, another way that we work together, that parking lot there by Dallas and Brown, they've added 12 metered spots that they didn't have before to help take up the slack from some of the spots we're losing on College Avenue. As we continue to grow downtown Blacksburg and encourage people to come, that problem is still going to be there, the challenge, and it'll continue to be there because the spots we're taking out on College Avenue, we're replacing really with maybe 150, 200 seats that are going to be outdoor dining. So those people are going to have to get downtown somehow if you don't live close enough to walk. So that's going to exacerbate the problem. We would still like to continue to talk to Virginia Tech about the Dallas and Brown parking lot becoming structured parking. I think that's it's in our future. We've talked about it for 20 years. It gets on their plan, gets taken off their plan. To make it an economically feasible project, it makes sense to me to build it. If you want to park on the ground level, you come in off of Odie there across from Dallas and Brown. If you want to park on the upper level, you come off of Draper. And the way the land sits, you can just come straight across. So you don't have to take up a lot of spots with ramps and everything. You just have those two ways to get in and out. But it is something that we're going to have to continue to work on because our growth needs to be mostly in the core. If we look at it, we don't have a lot of vacant land. So as we continue to grow, to keep cars off the road, you want them close to the university. So you're going to have to look at density downtown. Virginia Tech is building there on Turner Street. There are going to be 350 employees now kind of in that downtown area. Now, they're also building I think it's 800 space garage in the back. That'll help take up some of this space that they're going to have open to the public when it's not, when their employees aren't using it. So there are a lot of things going on, but we are aware of it. How do you show people better? We put up those signs. The wayfind signs is parking this way. Just to do more, maybe a good idea. And I just thought, we can do more within the within our website as we redesign it, which is on our goals to say, okay, here are the different places where you can park as we go through it. But one thing I did want to say very quickly, you talked about our growth downtown. I want everybody to know that we really worked hard on that, but we also are very aware of South Main Street and First and Main, and we are putting a lot of efforts into that right now. It's a task force and trying to revitalize that.
Let me ask you a question now.
Yes.
What hours do you have to put money in the parking lot?
Well, I've got a solution to the problem. I have a solution. I think you'll like this.
That worries me.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a parking place in Blacksburg, just drive to the mall in Christiansburg, park your car, shop in our stores, ride the trolley back to Blacksburg. It's going to cost you $2 to ride it one way and another $1 to come back to pick up your car. And that beats a $35 parking fine.
No, we're only 25. The university's 35.
Of course, he mentioned First and Main, and there's an awful lot of parking out there too.
That's one thing I did want to mention real quick. You asked that question, and when you talked about the two-town trolley, we have, and we do have in our plans, when we find the monies, to have a trolley that goes from First and Main downtown University Mall and just do that loop to encourage people to park there, and our goal is to have it a free service. So that's in the works, but again, it takes money.
Sometimes he doesn't appreciate my sense of humor.
I always do.
Well, let me tell you a story about parking in Blacksburg.
There's a meter there for a reason, Jim.
I had a little business, and I used to take buffalo meat down to several stores in Blacksburg. And I had done this many times, and I've seen the meter people, and they all give me a pass when I see them. And I had one delivery one day that was an emergency, and it was a $50 delivery, and I probably made about $3 on it by the time I paid for gas and everything. And I pulled in a parking spot. The guy had the check ready. I asked him to have the check ready. And I went in and I came out and I had a $25 ticket on my car. So I had to go up to my price of meat just to cover that bill. I called the mayor and I said, "Mayor, help me." You know.
And I said, "Thank you very much."
I got one too.
I get them and I pay them. But one of the funniest story though that people that come from larger areas don't really understand that you don't do things in small areas to do in larger areas. There were some folks here, this is 4 or 5 years ago, from the Defense Department to make a big announcement on local business, and we were down at Squires where they made the announcement, and the guy from the Defense Department parked on the street. Well, he got a ticket, and I was driving by, I had a window down and tell him goodbye, and he handed the ticket in to me. He said, "Take care of this." So I looked at it and drove back to the municipal building. I went and saw the town manager, told him this story, and he just smiled at me and laughed. And I said, "I know the answer." So I got that was when it was $15. I got the $15 out of my wallet, put it in the parking ticket, and paid it. That's how we take care of tickets in Blacksburg.
Well, you didn't take care of mine.
No, I didn't pay yours. You didn't throw it in my car either.
We'll have to remember that. I'll take care of it. You're going to get a lot of visitors.
Well, I do think we're going to have to wrap it up here. And I believe our speakers will be around for a few minutes after class if there's some other questions. But I do want to thank our speakers for being here today, and for you all for expressing an interest in local governments here. We really appreciate that. And We wanted to mention that there are other opportunities to take citizens academies here in this area. Montgomery County and Christiansburg partner on a citizens academy that will be offered this August and September. I believe Blacksburg is just finishing up its citizens academy. And in addition, our law enforcement officials also offer a police academy. So lots of opportunities to get informed about your community and get involved. So again, let's thank our speakers today and turn it over to Kathy.
Thank you all.